Hi everyone, and welcome to another team training video and encouragement video for the Alpha team. Well, it's finally beginning. We had the team training last Tuesday, and in this email that this link is attached to, you'll also see another link to the team training video in case you missed it. Also, there's a video that is for this coming session, so you can familiarize yourself with it before we get to it. The very first Alpha Night um, is a different sort of Alpha Night. It doesn't run the same as all the other Alphas. Basically, it's a get to know you night. And so there's going to be a lot of mingling, a lot of, getting to know people, introducing ourselves to people, and so on and so forth. What I want to say is, how do you do that? Well, I was recently phoned by, I think it was Alinta Gas, to talk about, my gas bill and if I wanted to switch over basically to Alinta. So essentially kind of corporate telemarketing. And as I said to the person on the other end of the phone, I'm not really interested, thank you very much. She said to me, before you go, I'd just like to, that's a really clever statement. It's a statement that shows some kind of recognition that you're on your way out of the conversation. So it makes you feel like they've actually heard that you're not interested. But it's a clever way of sort of assuming that, they've heard you, but they still get to say their bit anyway. Before you go, let me just say da 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 da. And I had to say, no, really, I'm going. That's not a bridging statement to yet another sales pitch. I guess what I learned from that is that telemarketers, and I remember doing all of this sort of training when I worked in retail, you have to have certain memorized phrases, or at least it's really helpful to have kind of memorized get out of jail, Alamo kind of phrases when things aren't going well, when the conversation's not quite working, when you're not selling what you're meant to be selling, maybe. You can place your hand on these memorized phrases in your mind and either keep the conversation going or, whatever. And I think that's an important lesson to learn because this current night that we're heading towards on Thursday, this is all about mingling. And some of us will be meeting people for the first time. What happens when stuff goes a bit stale? What happens when the conversation seems to run out of steam? Have a think about some phrases that you can memorize, that you can kind of quickly, in case of emergency, break glass kind of phrases in your mind to keep a conversation going, to keep someone engaged, but not just for the sake of keeping them engaged, but for the sake of showing that we really care about them, we really care about them as a person, we're really interested to get to know them. But there's lots of these that you can just do a quick Google, useful phrases to keep a conversation going. But let me just quickly share in the remaining minute or two one that I have memorized myself. I will, if I need to keep a conversation going, to keep someone engaged, I'll always try and ask them about where they live, specifically within Mandurah. I found that most of the time, people really enjoy talking about where they live. Okay, fine, sometimes it's for work reasons, but generally people live where they live because they like living there, right? So they don't have many negative things to say often. So for me, I like to say, hey, so what are you? Are you Dawesville or you Halls Head? Which side of the bridge are you? If they say Dawesville, hey, that's great. Da, da, da. And because the moment they say that, that gives me a whole map of things to talk about. Hey, what do you reckon about the new Coles shopping centre down there? Have you seen this new cafe that's opened up or about to open up or so on? Or what do you think about the new ice cream and coffee food truck that's parked down at Melrose Beach? Do you like the Saturday afternoon food trucks, etc.? All of a sudden, a suburb gives you effectively a whole list of new things. If they say, "Well, I'm not from Dawesville," I can say, "Hey, what do you enjoy about living in Halls Head?" Da, da, da. And you can talk about how long they've lived there and how long they've lived in Mandurah, if they've lived in other places in Mandurah. So very often I use this on Sunday morning when visitors come into the church so that, because the run sheet says we're not allowed to ask people about what they do, we keep talking about what people do as if that's what gives us value. But so we don't just say, well, what do you do for a job? and or what do you do for a living, or etc. I find that for me, asking people where, like which specific area they live in, whether it's Falcon, Dawesville, Wannanut, Halls Head, etc., Mandurah, um, that can really keep the conversation going, because there's always something new. There's always something happening around where you live, and yeah, that's really helpful. But that might not be the one that you use. There's plenty online that you can Google, but the top tip of this training is this: make sure you come along on Thursday night with at least one phrase memorized or one question memorized that is like a solid gold. Yep, that is going to keep the conversation going, and that'll make it so much easier as we're all mingling. I'll expect a wry smile from people if they hear me ask a person what it's like to live in Erskine or something like that. All right, we'll catch you later. Bye.